If you spend a lot of time developing shell scripts, you'll end up at some point creating some code that you would like to reuse. And when I say reuse, I mean you might find that the code is so useful that it could be readily assimilated into other shell scripts that you're developing. Now, of course, it's possible just to simply, well, copy and paste the useful code from one script to another. But the trouble with that technique is that you then would end up with several copies of your very useful little piece of code. And if you ever decided to make an enhancement to your very useful piece of code, then you'd have to make that enhancement in many places. It's much more professional to actually write that piece of code once and then, if you like, include it wherever it's needed in other scripts. Now, there is actually a sort of an include facility in shell scripts. It's actually the dot command. You may have seen the dot command before. It's actually another way that we can run shell scripts. In fact, I showed it to you at the beginning of this course. It causes the shell script to get executed using the current shell, as opposed to spawning a separate shell, as you recall. Well, that's only one use of the dot command. You can use exactly the same functionality within a shell script to, if you like, include other shell scripts, or at least other functions from other shell scripts, into the code that you've got. Let's have a look at how that might look. Now, I've included two script libraries here. I've called dot, and the parameter to dot the first time is script library 1. Now, script library 1 would theoretically contain, well, it could contain any shell script, and the code in that shell script would get executed immediately where the dot line is. But what's really handy is if script library 1 just happened to contain functions and functions only. Now, in that situation, no code would get executed immediately, but all the functions available in script library 1 would then become available inside this shell script. So, of course, you could then call any function from script library 1. The same, of course, applies to script library 2. I've just thrown that in there to show you that you can actually include several files in the one script if you choose to. And then down the bottom, I've made calls to two functions. One is called func from first library, and the second one's called func from second library. So theoretically, I'm just calling a function from each of the two script libraries. I'll actually show you a worked example of this technique in the next module, which is a case study. So let's have a look at that now.